Either. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any items from the public this afternoon? If not, motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda, sir, for February 14th, 2023.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, well, we're already ahead of schedule. Board of Review and Equalization, Mr. Larry Hess, Honorable Larry. Anything to report? Fill us in, update us?
Not a whole lot. We have nobody scheduled for appeal.
Nobody.
We got a couple changes that Doc has to present to you.
Okay.
We did have, we had two appeals to the Office of Tax Appeals in Charleston. We had one phone conference yesterday. The first one in the state of West Virginia. This is all brand new.
Yeah.
So we had the first one.
How'd that go?
But what they give you 3 days when they first set them up to make an appeal. They give you a status hearing, so which is a phone call. Then they gave you another pre-hearing thing, like if you know. And then there's a third when they set up all 3 dates when you make the appeal. So how it turned out yesterday was they asked the taxpayer if they wanted to try to work out something with the assessor's office. And they gave the taxpayer a 30-day period. Contact us and try to work something. So that's kind of hanging there right now. We got another one coming up next week. That nobody knows how these are going to work out, but that's going to drag along way past our certification. It could, and
So the council's not going to ever go sine die until then?
well, no, I think you can,
Okay.
but I think, you check with Anthony, but I think the code says that if you
Go sine die.
if you sign die before February the 20th, anybody has a right to go to the Office of Tax Appeals and make an appeal after that. There's no deadline. That's my understanding. That's
Well,
that's the way it works.
It's part of the tentative schedule. The council has to meet with the Board of Equalization review at least until February 15th,
Right.
which is tomorrow. So we had them scheduled for Thursday,
Right.
of course, all day. Hopefully, would have gone sine die on the 16th, but then I talked to Penny on Monday, not knowing what was going to happen. We went on and scheduled next Tuesday.
For signing die, that would be my opinion of it too.
So,
Because that's 21st, isn't it?
yes,
So it's a day after the 20th.
correct.
So that would be my opinion.
So we had put on the extra days, because you have to go sine die by the end of February. We had put the extra days on there not knowing if something like this would come up. So if it's okay with the council, next Tuesday, come in, hopefully it'll be a fairly short meeting. Set as the Board of Review and Equalization, and then go sine die.
2:00, or you want to do it earlier?
2 o'clock.
I'll have to stay till 4. I'm going to schedule a budget hearing, so I can just come in, go sign and die.
Thought
Does
that's
that work for you?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'll have certification values on Wednesday, right?
Maybe not.
You heard that commit. You heard him commit, didn't
I
you?
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
see a lot of grinning and laughing
Yeah.
out there. I'm not sure.
I'll get it to you as soon as I get it.
I think the commit might be committed.
Yeah. So at any rate, I got Doc's going to give you some updates on some changes. Other than that, that's all we have right now.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Larry.
Do you want his copies so you can see if these are torn down?
Okay. Yeah. Got a few?
Yeah, I got 10.
Okay.
In fact, what we have here is a case where we're in the office on office error that they copied a 11.9 acres from Round Top Estates onto 10 parcels. And they were trying to update the homeowners association. And it just got added by error. So I've got 10 parcels where they added the same 11.79 acres to each parcel.
That They did some real estate up there then, didn't it?
Well, what it was the vacant property, and we put the homeowner association on vacant property this year. When he updated it, it just got added on by itself. So they pulled the 11.79 from one to the other 10. So we did the one the other day, we found these afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, and like I said, it's Round Top States, and on all these are vacant property. It's just land value only. And I'll start with the first one, which is parcel 0320 13.59. And the current assessed land value is $78,680, and the total is $78,680. The proposed, after changing it, is $42,860, and the total being the same, $42,860. So I didn't know if you wanted to vote on each one individual.
We did the last time.
They're all in the same subdivision.
Same subdivision, same mistake on all 10.
I just do all 10 of them at the same, you'll get that, yeah. Do all 10 of them at the same time.
Okay.
Just go ahead and read them all.
Okay. The next parcel is 0320 13.98. The current value is, on the land, is $74,040, with the total being the $74,040 also. The proposed after the change is $38,280 on the land, and for the total is the same, $38,280. Okay, the next parcel is 0320 13.99. The current assessed value is $77,040, with the total being the same, $77,040. The proposed after the change is $41,220 on the land, and the same on the total, which is $41,220. Okay, the next parcel is 0320 13.101. The current assessed value is $150,630 on the land, and the same on the total, $150,630. The proposed after the change would be $114,810 on the land, and the same on the total, $114,810. Okay, the next parcel is 0326 110. The current assessed value is $60,800 on the land, with the total being the same, $60,800. The proposed after the change is $25,040 on the land and $25,040 as total. The next parcel is 0326 111. The current value on the assessment is $61,760 on the land, and the same on the total, $61,760. The proposed is $26,000 on the land, with the $26,000 being on the total also. The next parcel is 0326 115, with the current assessed value at $77,730 on the land, with the same on the total, $77,730. On the proposed after the change would be assessed value at $41,910 on the land, and with the total being the same, $41,910. The next parcel is 0326 145. Current value, assessed value is $55,340 land, with the same as the total, $55,340. After the change, with the proposed value would change to $19,520 on the land, $19,520 on the total. Okay. The next one up is 0326 170, with the current value of assessed at $70,650, with the total being $70,650 also. The proposed after the change would be $34,830 on the land and $34,830 on the total. The last one is 032684, and the current value would be, it right now is 113,420 on the land, 113,420 on the total. The proposed after the change on the assessment would be 77,600 on the land and 77,600 on the total.
Okay.
And all 10 reductions in the taxpayer's favor.
Yes, yes. All these were low. Actually, we found them after the one we had the other day that had the 11.79 acres. We were searching why it occurred. We thought maybe it got put on the wrong parcel, but what happened, it got copied over from that parcel.
Okay. You've heard the changes in the roles. We have a motion to accept the 10 changes.
Yes, sir. Motion to accept the 10 presentations from the assessor on the 11.79 acres at Round Top Estates.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All righty. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Jeff.
you, John.
Jeff, get these, Penny, or
Penny gets them.
Penny?
That way she can,
Penny, what would we do without you?
So you can never find
I
it.
will, thank you.
I hope I don't.
Is that an open question?
Yeah, it's an open question. We can.
Can you
Don't
block off
answer
some
it.
time?
That's not for you to answer.
Okie dokie. A little bit ahead. Ms. Van Meter, is that you? We'll go ahead and have you come up and you can tell us a little bit about CCAP loaves and fishes.
Beverly Van Meter. I'm on the board of directors of CCAP Loaves and Fishes. I'm the grant writer for the group and also the immediate past president of the board. So I want to start out by thanking the council for granting our request for funding with $100,000 grant award. We appreciate it. It's very much needed, as I hope to tell you briefly in just a minute. And also for supplemental funding in the amount of $2,000, which will really help us make a difference. So this is very important to us. The rental program, the rental assistance program to prevent eviction is the largest of our financial assistance program items. I've also attached to the letter a summary, which is stuck together. There we go. A summary which we utilize as our annual report. And I think I'll just pass these out to you. And then I would like to make a few comments, if you will indulge me for a few minutes.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Mr. Boyd.
How are you doing?
Mr. Barnhart, there you are. Mr. Whitaker?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Whitaker's my dad. My name's
Oh,
Jim.
Okay, Jim.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Now, you know, I've never met you, Steve, but I think everybody in the county knows you.
It's good to meet you. You shake your
Yes.
hand and say hi.
Thank you.
Yes.
I frequent the Birdsburg Dog Park.
Oh, good.
Pardon me. And
Thank you.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the
I just-
attorney for
No,
the?
ma'am,
for the
no, I
group?
just
No.
carry their water, whatever they tell me. I do. They tell me to go get them a glass of water, I do.
County administrator, official.
Oh, okay, county administrator, all right,
I just go wherever they tell me.
okay.
And I'm gonna be honest, those two right there, Penny and Alan, they do the lion's share of the work in this county.
I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that. Not necessarily because of the group that's assembled here.
Teddy's the brains and I'm the window dressing.
That's, yeah, okay.
Um,
Let's go with that.
So the first thing I would like to mention is that after many years at the St. Joseph's Catholic Church Administrative Building, we have way outgrown that space, and we've been looking for a couple of years for a new space and have found it at Otterbein United Methodist Church on North Queen Street, just past the underpass. If some of you might not be familiar. And we have completed a lease with their leadership and our board, and are expecting to move on March 1st. So, actually, we will be moved by March 1st. That will be our first day of operations there. So, we are grateful to the St. Joseph's congregation, and also grateful to the work that we're looking forward to doing with the congregation at Otterbein. So I've on this, Kenny, you might be the most interested in this. I've listed our email, our new mailing address. Previously, we received our mail there on Queen Street at the building on the Catholic Church complex. But now we have a mail box, and also our Facebook. Just data about that. And then I think a lot of people don't know the extent of the services provided by CCAP, and so this sort of informal annual report gives a sort of an overview of that. And you can see our sources of food. Our food pantry is probably the best known of our services. We started as a food pantry. This is our 40th year. We were chartered in 1982. Didn't know that, did you?
No.
Good. I don't want to bore you with things you already know. And you can see where our food sources come from. We do not purchase any food from the Mountaineer Food Bank. They have a set of food items for purchase, and then they have free items for food pantries, and that's what we utilize. We do have to purchase some of our food, and one of the ways that we're making use of those funds is we have an agreement with Orr's Farm Market, and they deliver us. We purchase fresh fruit and vegetables from them throughout the season, and they deliver once a week to CCAP, which really makes our clients happy. Good fresh produce is expensive, and it's also something that a lot of food pantries are not able to accommodate, and so we're proud of that partnership with Orr's. You can see our food distribution. The 2,055 food visits is households. And households can have up to 12 visits at 30-day intervals in 1 year. Added to that, they are also eligible for Thanksgiving dinner boxes, which is the complete. You can make a complete meal with all the trimmings for Thanksgiving, including turkeys. And then also Christmas food boxes. This is our second year of doing Christmas food boxes. And it's, I looked at the figures for this about which of the age groups that took advantage of the Christmas food boxes. And 59% are people 60 years and older, or households, with the head of household being 60 years and older. So this is a definite straight benefit to our elders. And then we also partner, we have a memorandum of understanding with the FCCH for community for the homeless, and their mission is to provide temporary homelessness, temporary housing for people who are homeless but already have an option for housing. And they put them up in motels. So this is our third year. We've completed our third year of this partnership, and we provide food that is readily edible, only needs minimal heating in a microwave, something that just needs to be stored but can be eaten from the refrigerator. And so we keep those bags of food prepared, and as they need them, as the FCCH folks need them, they come and pick them up from us. And last year they picked up 70 bags. That doesn't, each bag may or may not represent more than one person. And sometimes it's a family, it might be a single parent with children, so they may get other additional bags. We distributed 114,457 pounds of food. So any questions about the food operation? I've mentioned this a couple times before. I think it would be so much fun if the county employees challenged the city employees to a food drive for CCAP. I think everybody would have a good time with that, and CCAP would be so grateful. So I put that out. I don't know whether that appeals to the sensitivities of this group at all, but I think a little friendly competition might be in order. So Jim is smiling. We'll see. So then our overhead, our what's called the charity overhead, our operational expenses, last year 2.2%. We all volunteer. We don't have a mortgage. We don't own property, and we have a reputation for being very frugal and reserving our resources for assistance to the clients that we serve. So the funds that the county council has provided will be, believe me, they'll be used. We scrutinize every penny. So you don't have to worry about that. So then you can look at the financial assistance window there, and you can see what our financial assistance amounts to. And rent, as you can see, is far and above our biggest expenditure. Now, these expenditures for 22 were much lower. I guess 2019 was the last year that we really had a strong demand. When the pandemic started, and there were lots of resources for people in need from the government, we found that our visits dropped off and the demand for assistance was much less. Starting in mid-year of 22, we saw the demand for our services go up. we went from having between 3,000 and 4,500 monthly demand. This is just an example for rent in '22. Beginning in September, it went up to 28,800. And October was 20,800. November was 11,000 and December was 33. So as the accessibility of other help faded from the picture and rents have gone up, we have seen a tremendous demand for rental and other financial assistance. And our rental assistance compared to 21 went up 67%. Now, that's not the cost of rent. That's what we have provided for multiple families in order to keep them from being evicted. And when we have a call for rental assistance, we also contact the landlord, because there are times when landlords don't want to, they have good reasons for not keeping a tenant. It isn't always that way. In fact, that's not the majority of what we see. The majority of what we see is a sudden illness that creates a lot of extra expenses. And that may be number one. And then being laid off unexpectedly is, and especially for seasonal workers, that can be a problem. But some landlords do not want to accept our money, so we call them and talk with them, make sure that they're all right with that, and that they have spoken with the, they know that the tenant was coming to see us. So we do a little bit of background work because we don't want to be paying for rent when the person, we're just paying the bill and the person isn't going to end up with shelter. So let's see, one thing I want to point out, the fourth item on the financial assistance is our work shoes and clothing. And we're very proud of that. With the amount of industrial work that's available in the county now, there are lots of people who need to have specifically a certain type of footwear in order to do their jobs. And we found that many of the companies have that as a requirement for acceptance to employment. You have to provide your first pair of shoes. Maybe the company provides the rest. I really don't know, but we found that that's common. And so we have a contract with a shoe vendor, and that we give a voucher to people who have been told they're hired. And having footwear is a requirement of keeping, starting the job. And so we're very proud of that. Also clothing, that's much less, but a lot of people who do gig work or who are in the, particularly in the food business, need a particular color or type of clothing in order to serve food, or just what's required by the company. And so we also provide vouchers for clothing. As I said, we're all volunteers, and we always need volunteers. And if you know anyone who would like to volunteer, we would be happy. You can call us, and we will, or have the person call us, and we will contact them and get them in to look over the operation. And we're very excited about our new location, because we've done a little bit of remodeling of it, some mainly cosmetic and storage changes to make a little warehouse for our food pantry. And we're in the lower level of Otterbein. So if you get a chance, come and see us. We would welcome you. Our hours are Monday through Friday from 10 to 1. And I thank you for your support. It really means a lot to CPAS Loaves and Fishes. Any comments or questions?
How do you qualify people for the rent program?
Good question. They must be residents of Berkeley County.
Okay.
And we do earmark we also get some assistance from the CDBG grant for the block grant that the city gets. And so they must have proof of residence in Berkeley County.
You pay that
For the
directly?
CDBG grant.
You pay the landlord directly instead of giving it to
We
you?
do,
Yeah.
we do. The CDBG grant is for people who live within city limits. So we really like getting some assistance that we can use, the monetary assistance that we can use for anyone. And we kind of reserve that for clients who come in who live in the county. But yes, we verify, we verify oops, I lost my train of thought. We verify the address, and we also have a way of verifying income through the income brackets that are provided by USDA. Since we cooperate with the food bank, we adhere to that when we're distributing food. Anything else?
Everybody okay?
All right, I thank you.
Thank you very much, and
You're welcome.
your organization does provide a very much needed service in this county, so
Thank you.
we will do our best.
We're proud of it. Don't forget that suggestion about the food. This is the third year I've suggested. And I
I think
guess
our churches kind of get in a little bit of a competition. So.
they do. And I just think it would be fun. I'm not going to belabor the subject. This might be the last time I bring it up. Or maybe there'll be somebody else in my place next time. And they won't think to bring it up. So just think about it. It might be fun. And thank you so much.
We always enjoy having you. Thank you for coming
Thank you.
in. All righty.
Take my jacket off.
If you hear, Bear Pools, phase 1 of the construction in this building, the renovations have started today. So if it gets too loud, I put the microphone down.
Where are they working?
They're
Right
right
down
below.
below us.
I saw him talk to him when I was walking in.
I thought I was in the dentist office.
All righty. Well, we're a little bit early, Sheriff. You want to? I don't think we have anybody coming in yet for Board of Review, so we can go ahead and proceed if everybody's, if y'all would like. Is that all right?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Okay.
You can make chest.
How you doing, Sheriff?
Good.
Sheriff, how you doing?
That ain't our problem, man. Alice, so good.
You want to start with 700 or on our read ahead it's 404? It's a matter deal.
All right. Well, again, it's always a pleasure to come and speak before the council. I think, it's important to express your larger ticket item in terms of budgeting, especially the public safety office, where that money has went, where it's going, what it's doing, and our vision for the future. As I've already explained to you guys that we're doing really, really good things, and I would like to continue to do that. And it's only with your blessings that we're able to do what we've done so far. And I want to make sure that we get just a little bit in the weeds with what I'm asking for, why I'm asking, and then also, as promised from last year, we're decreasing some of these line items. So I want to be able to show you that. Oh, wait a minute. There, too fast fingers. That's what I get for continuing to hit the button. All right. I think it's important that you actually see some of these things when we're talking about manpower. I submitted for 3 deputies. I'm asking for 5, and I'm going to explain to you why. Obviously, we are growing. Everyone knows that. 3.2% each year, projected to do so for the next 4 years. And we've been able to keep our nose above the water. I have made no secret that I would love very much to get to that 0.83 percentile range, and there's a reason for that. If you truly think about reform, and I'm not talking about the reform touted across the nation, I'm talking about real and practical police reform, you must invest in manpower. Numbers is preventative. The more deterrence we have out there on the interstate, for example, we have 2 dedicated interstate deputies now. And that's only been, again, accomplished through our relationship and being able to have the manpower to be able to do that. That has provided a deterrence. It has lowered the fatality rate and accident rate on the interstate, not to mention the fact that construction is cleaned up. But it is a deterrence, nevertheless. And with that, I would love to continue to be able to provide that kind of preventative deterrence in the future. And that's why I'm asking for 5. 3 just continues to keep our nose above the water. 5 will actually raise the percentile to 0.56. We have successfully in the past applied for the COPS grant and won. So we are doing some things that help contribute to that investment. If you look at the other counties, even though we are slightly under 100 square miles less than Harrison County, they have 55 deputies for their population, which is 65,000, and they're at that 0.83. And then I gave a couple of other examples there as well that you have to read at your leisure. The 5 additional deputies, 73 in total for our department, would raise it to 0.56 per 1,000 population. That is moving the needle forward towards that 0.83.
Sheriff,
Obviously-
can I interrupt?
Yes, sir.
Back to your first slide, it says you have 68 deputies. At the beginning of the fiscal year, you had 66, and the council put 1 in contingency, which has not been moved yet. But even when they do move that, that'll only be 67 deputies.
Oh, I must have counted what the retired number. Yeah, that's my apologies. I counted the retired number for Mr. Burkhart. I went off the list.
I just wanted to.
No, that's fine. I apologize for that. So 67.
67 with the 1 that they put in contingency this year. Okay.
So what he's really saying is I'm asking for 6. 5 is what I'm asking for. As we move forward, I'm not here to ask for, obviously, as you see at the bottom, 12 deputies or 15 deputies to try to get us to that higher percentile. It's unpractical, and I do realize that. But what we need to help each other understand is that we have dealt with over 40,000 calls in 2022, just our office alone. When you take those 40,000 calls, and I'll use domestics for example, those 40,000 calls are calls for service of an individual deputy. But when you talk about a domestic or some other volatile situation that requires backup, now you're into that 68,000 call for service range. As we look at the heat map up here, and I'm very proud that Gary and our department has developed the ability for our citizens to be able to see what you're seeing now. You see saturation parallel to 81 and Route 11, which is expected. That is a trend that has continued for years on end. However, what I need you to focus on is the gray and yellow areas. As you look at the key, you're talking anywhere from 50 to 500 additional calls for service that are now spanning out towards like Back Creek Valley area and other more rural areas. We're going to look at a closer snapshot of the Falling Waters area that you're not going to be able to see on the PowerPoint because I printed it off, but this is the Falling Waters area here. And as you can start seeing, I'll just call it the gray matter and the yellow, those areas are becoming more populated as people move westward here from DC and other places. They want property. And they also expect similar services from where they came from. It's kind of unrealistic, but that's their expectation. In the same token, though, they're calling 911 because they can't get their 14-year-old to straighten up or go to school or something like that. So we're taking multiple calls, and it takes a handful of calls for that one family to understand that this is a truancy or a school attendance officer. We'll point them in the right direction. But there's many calls that we're getting, and I call it the westward effect, and it's what happens when the commuters move over here. But regardless of that, you can see that the calls are now moving east and west, and we're getting more saturated there. This is the Martinsburg area, and you can see again the saturation both east and west of the area. If I had a comparison to 2021 or 2020, you would see a vast difference. I did so last year in my presentation. I just didn't want to bombard you with a bunch of slides in this presentation. But you can see the additional heated areas that are growing. And this is the Inwood area. Not a lot of difference. It is also expanding both east and west in terms of calls for service. This is more of a comparison in terms of 2021 to 2022. I know it's a bird's eye view and it's kind of hard to see, but if you looked at the very first slide that showed the bird's eye view of Berkeley County for 2022 and overlapped it with this one, you can see that those dark gray areas are a lot larger than that very first slide you looked at. So even our saturated areas that parallel 81 and Route 11 are growing. So when I talked about our investment in reform, I just hinted on it a little bit, but now I want to go into it and explain it a lot deeper. It's not the national mantra that you hear, defund police or anything like that. True reform exists in manpower to provide the preventative that you need to reduce crime. The more officers that you have out there visually deterring criminal acts, it's common sense that you'll have a lot less, especially if they're on the street patrolling, if they're out there visually, instead of running call to call to call and being reactive. So more manpower contributes to that reform and makes our public feel a lot more at ease. The additional investment towards reform is training. If you provide your men and women with the equipment and training necessary, and when I say equipment that we've already invested in, that you've invested in terms of taking the weight off their hips, bringing it up to a more distributed weight, 8 pounds to be exact. You have less lower back problems, less workers' comp issues. We do provide light duty. And we do participate actively in a health and wellness grant program for our deputies, so they not only take care of themselves physically, but mentally as well. That contributes to keeping deputies on the road a lot longer. Additionally, training, especially in the environment that we live in now, when you talk about autism awareness or other mental health issues, our officers are getting that kind of training, and we are doing that. You helped me do that. You've helped me invest in the equipment that they need. You've also helped me with the mental health and wellness program. Financially is the third prong to reform. If you can maintain the competitiveness of our surrounding agencies to our department in terms of pay and maintaining that, I mean, in the past 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Davis has announced a 25% up to 30% increase across the board, and to include the council's agreements on a step pay raise for our office. That in and by itself, coupled with civil service reform between our department and civil service, has made us hands down one of the most competitive agencies in the Panhandle. Even so much so that we're getting officers all the way as far as Kanawha County and Monongalia County. And with that said, you have invested in the financial security of our deputies. So the more manpower, training and equipment, and financial security for our officers, that is what reform's about. And I think we are doing that. We are well on our way of doing that. And that's, again, the other reason why I'm asking you for 5 deputies instead of 3. To add to that, what we lose on an annual basis based off retirement, resignation, termination, or other employments, or those that are eligible for retirement, we lose approximately 5 a year. We lost 8 in 2022 to those very reasons. So again, the 5 additional deputies will help us keep up with that. In terms of our overtime, line 108, we're obviously requesting an increase in our overtime line item. It's just when you have more bodies, when you have more deputies, it's just you're going to automatically have more overtime. I will also broach that we did go to 12-hour shifts. Those 12-hour shifts primarily, that change was to get additional deputies on the road, and we've done that. We were operating at deputy minimums for quite a while, staying on 10-hour shifts. My concern was I really don't want those deputies wore out mentally and physically on a 12-hour shift, but when we started looking at the numbers, by the time they finished their 10-hour shift and they caught up a little bit on reports, or they stuck around the office, whether it be a canine issue or chit-chatting with it, they were spending about 11.25 hours on station anyway, or on duty anyway. So when we went to this, we thought the benefit was we get more deputies on the road, approximately 8 to 9, if I'm not mistaken, 4-hour shifts. And those deputies now get a better, more extended period of time with their families. I've ridden with these deputies in the month of January and the beginning of February, and I can tell you hands down, the common thing that I hear is that we feel refreshed coming back to work. And that's really what it's about. I mean, you get a well-rested, family-oriented, I spend time with my kids to go to the games now, and generally everybody gets a weekend day off with this schedule. So it benefits their mental wellness as well. So our average overtime usage per deputy is about 116, almost 117 hours per deputy. When we went to 12-hour shifts, it did affect holiday and our overtime pay. Just in holiday alone is over $400,000. So this is talking about overtime line item, but I did want to broach the topic of our holiday pay and give you that information. We have other reasons for our overtime usage, which is call-outs, and I'm glad to say that that's something that's went down this year in terms of our SWAT call-outs. But canine call-outs and, of course, our criminal investigation division call-outs, our dive team call-outs. Accidents work, I've already mentioned it, we're above 4,000 accident increase in 2022 versus 2021. Our dive team call-outs have went up slightly, but we do work in conjunction with Frederick County. We utilize their resources, they utilize ours. And you got multi-jurisdictional initiatives like HIDA and task force roundups, and of course the ACE team in the Panhandle that works with other agencies as well. Mental hygiene trips, I am proud to say that we've established a transportation division that Mr. Lang and his group, I'm proud to say that we're looking at a decrease in overtime usage, and that's the reason why I'm only asking for 396 in that specific line item. It is where we need to be, and I'm sure that you'll see a decrease in what we've used last year when the transportation division gets up and swinging full steam. So we've already used them, and it's working out well. When we go to the line item 214, I'm just simply requesting the same as last year at 16,000. The maintenance and repairs, autos and trucks, line 217. There are small expenditures that take place with ATVs and generators and trailers. Not to mention the Bearcat. Jason Scales does an amazing job being able to do those small little fixes. So we're not paying $10,000 or thousands of dollars, I should say, transporting a fully armored Bearcat somewhere to get fixed. He's been able to do that. Yeah, Massachusetts. Little things that happen with like the crime scene vehicle and their boats, their dive team boats, a little bit comes out of that. For advertising, legal, and publication for line 220, I'm asking the same as last year at 7,000. When we go to line 221, training and education, you can see that I'm asking for a decrease from 91,000 to 60,000. And the reason for that is you've given me the opportunity and investment opportunities to get our instructors where they need to be so we can do in-house training. Whether that is use of force de-escalation, taser training, crime scene processing, firearms, we do all of that in-house now. We don't have to send people out to do that. We are looking at drug recognition experts. We are looking at crisis intervention teams, 2 per shift. So we are looking at small investments like that. Do you have questions?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. And so we are investing in other things. However, I don't foresee it going past 60,000. We are still doing law enforcement accident avoidance driver's training, which I will say during the November 26th incident, Deputy Gazelle in that pursuit/shootout did commend the training that he had been through, and had he not, he felt that he would have wrecked a car in a very high-speed right-hand turn on the Foxcroft Ave. He made sure he dropped into my office and told me as much. So it is paying off, especially with our deputies and the way they maintain their vehicles. So with that said, we also, for the first time ever in 2021, we started our in-house, in-service training, which means we invite other organizations to our office, to include the prosecuting attorney's office, to give us case updates, search and seizure updates, and other courses from either EPIC or another entity that actually has in-service hours attached to it. So if we have deputies that are lacking 4 to 6 hours, these are good small pod classes that I call them, but also good for our deputies in terms of mental health first aid style classes. So we are doing that, as well as I'm still finding trouble keeping up with our grants department with all the money they've been getting us for the training. We've dialed our training requests down outside of what grants is doing because they're doing such a good job. As we go to lines 223, professional services, 229, work costs and damages, 230, contracted services, 233, investigative expenses, and what's the line item for refunds of costs? Yeah. That's a typo there. But the only increase that I'm asking, or I'm sorry, the decrease that I'm asking is for professional services line from 15,000 to 12,000. The rest I'm asking just merely keep the same. Now, supplies and materials, there's several reasons why you see an increase there, let alone the cost and inflation of shipping and handling of various things. I'm asking from 183,000 to 226,000 for the following reasons. I tried to get pictures of the desk chairs over there at our department, but they are such in ill repair. There are rips, and the leather is pretty much gone on most of them. There are rips and tears in the netted ones, and I've had deputies and witness deputies fall back and flip over because the backs are broken on these chairs. Looking into the cost of chairs is approximately $36,000. We have had pilot chairs sent to us. We believe we have a very good, durable product to move forward, and I'm asking for an investment in that regard. Of course, we're still looking at our drones and for tactical operations and obviously foot pursuits when it comes to our shifts to be able to call upon technology like this to where we, one, don't have to send a dog, so to speak, and utilize a dog or a dog bite as an end result. If we can have a drone that has a FLIR system on it, which they do exist, and invest in that, you're talking approximately a $70,000 to $80,000 investment. That's for two, roughly about $40,000 for one. Skydio is a very well-marketed drone manufacturer, and they do not include China chips or anything like that in them. They are already established with DoD. So we are looking at that manufacturer for something like that, but also for our SWAT team as well. If I can send a drone in the house, and I'll use Fairfax incident last year as an example, if I can send a drone in the house versus a human being, I'd much rather do that. So we are still looking into this. Night vision goggles, obviously, for our SWAT team is another investment that we're looking at $30,000. ACE team navigation and equipment, office supplies, and SRO soft flexi shields. They're approximately $18,000. We have 3 of those. We've already put them in the schools with our SROs. So they're deployable and they can use them at any time. And of course, when grants, and when me and Tracy have been working closely with each other in terms of grants and reimbursements, we really don't get any reimbursements for up to a year later. So it does hurt in terms of us paying that up front, and we're still waiting for approximately $97,000, just to give you an idea. When we move to uniforms, line item 345, we did our heavy lift last year. We went to the BDUs, just like I've already mentioned, and weight redistributed. But when we talk about Class A's, what you see me wearing now, you're talking about pants that went from $59 now to $72. And that's something that's just out of everybody's control. It's just the increase that's occurred over the time. We try to give our deputies at least 1 to 2 pairs of Class A's for professional presentations, either at schools or other organizations when they have to do that. Line item for the tax office 404, the next page 103, we're requesting $13,000. I made this request last year, and I'm a huge advocate of performance-based increases, whereas we do performance evaluation every single year, and it's about productivity. You know, the tax deputies do a great deal of good, solid work. They come in very high, at a high percentile in terms of collecting taxes and doing what's needed to be done. And when we do our evaluations, those evaluations not only help productivity, but they also incite progression in someone that might have a weak point. And we counsel them, we tell them where they're weak at, and we give them a score. And I would love very much to, again, we've been very blessed with pay increases across the board, and I'm very appreciative of that. But having the ability to provide performance-based pay raises is crucial to, you know, even corporate businesses to promote productivity and to growth. For our tax office, line 220, advertising and publication, we're in need of the $146,000 because they do 3 publications each year at $66,000 roughly. I think historically we've just came back and asked for more whenever we needed it.
That's the one we're trying to get changed in Charleston, is that correct?
Well, I think what they did in Charleston is land sales, and they have adjusted that to where they now take over the land sales, so we don't have to actually do that here anymore. So, but they do have us service the notifications and stuff still, so we still have a cost of that. That's the only thing I want to.
Well, the bill is this year, and
Yeah.
John Hardy's bill to get the publications down.
Oh, okay. I was not aware
Yeah,
of that.
it's not, it hasn't been approved.
Okay.
It's in the works.
For the last couple of years.
Contractual services, the need is $45,000 for our tax office because, as I've listed here, the state tax lists software systems to extract the data called a conversion, annual fees, monthly maintenance fees. Generally, the bigger payment is in June, and of course that accounts for processing and printing of tax bills. Line 341, supplies and materials, keep it at $31,000. Obviously, that's for operations and inflation costs. Then we go into the civil service processes, and line item 701, we are not asking for any increase in that particular line item at this time. And then we go to the reserves line. You guys again blessed us with $2,500 for supplies and material, line 341, and the same amount for 345, which running reports and everything, they used it quite well. We are requesting an additional $20,000 for the implementation of tasers. Both Jefferson County and Morgan County Deputy Reserve programs both have tasers. Our program has asked for that. We do have a master taser instructor, Sergeant Boyles, who is certified to provide the training. We don't have to send them anywhere. Now, of course, these will not be the same tasers that the officers wear because they're really more intricate tasers that we utilize than the ones we want to equip the deputy reserves with. But the deputy reserves, if you remember my review for 2022, they saved over $102,000 in terms of man hours and helping us on different scenes. The November 26th shooting, for example, or major traffic accidents. We use them. They love working with us. We love working with them. And they save a lot of manpower by helping us in that manner. And their volunteer hours were in the thousands. I forget the exact number, but I said that also in the review. So a $20,000 investment so we can equip our reserve deputies. Here's something slightly different. You have this attachment in your printout there. Animal control's kind of just been floating around. People have been working. We had one chief, and there's not really been any true structure within animal control. You had one chief, and that's about it. Then it operated more on seniority, but that was just by word of mouth. And I want to make it official. In December 20th of 2018, former Sheriff Keller and Chief Wilson presented to the council a salary scale for the animal control office. The council approved a 5% increase to animal control staff members that was effective January 1st of 2019. What their staff wasn't aware of until now is that the council didn't approve the salary scale. And we were kind of going off of the assumption that it was. The scale has not been applicable until this fiscal year. 2 staff members were slated for increases in January and June of 2023. The scale's been updated for the budget here, as you see in your handout, for the request for a restructuring. What you see in the shaded portion on the bottom is the restructuring that we are asking for. Ms. Kelly can elaborate a little bit on that if I misspeak, but those salary numbers for the Chief Animal Control Officer and the added title of Assistant Chief Animal Control Officer are the bigger changes. In all honesty, I think the only additional investment in this pay scale or restructuring portion is between $18,000 to $20,000 if we were to do this. I'm asking for the council's consideration to do just that. I want to make our animal control office a lot more professional and structured. We do have a lot of turnover there. We have 2 vacancies currently. And I'm also asking the council to consider retitling the part-time position. Because of the 2 vacancies that have occurred, we have realized that the overtime usage that the current animal control officer employees have to work because of those 2 vacancies has eaten up quite a bit of their allotted overtime. And I would like to change the part-time position kennel custodian cleaner to a part-time animal control officer to fulfill those needs. They all clean kennels. They all contribute to that. We also participate in a program with the DRC, with Tim Zai's staff, that if someone reaches a portion in their rehabilitation, that they're more than welcome, with oversight, to come over to our animal control office and do this pet care program and potentially adopt the dog at the end of their successful completion of the program. So we do have avenues to help in terms of actual kennel cleaning, but all the animal control officers take part in that job as well. I think that adding a part-time animal control officer, or at least changing the title, I'm not asking to change the financial number, I'm just asking to change the title, so I can hire a part-time animal control officer. And that's the only changes that we would like to make with animal control as a whole. Ms. Kelly, do you have anything to add to that?
Just that if you look at the current salary, those 2 are based on what we offer those salaries for.
And that's in the white, the highlighted, right? So yeah, that's why I put the yellow highlighted marks beside the 2 names of Chief Jones and Assistant Chief Ms. Murphy. We were going off of the what we thought the previous approval was, and we didn't realize that it wasn't approved. But with that said, I think I kept it a lot shorter than last year. So with that said, I'll be more than happy to entertain questions.
Just one quick one on the competitive number that you gave us for the 8.3 number.
Yes, sir.
Or 0.83. How does that number derived? I mean, what?
So, the 1 per 1,000, every bit of research that I've looked at points more towards that number sufficing for a municipality, for, let's say, Martinsburg City. And it's more ideal for them. It's not a practical percentage of 1 per 1,000 for county entities, especially when you start taking in how rural a county is. Let's say, for example, Pocahontas County versus our county, which is slowly turning into a more metropolitan area. So I took a portion of that concept and applied it towards what we're doing here at our department. And I found that if we can at least work our way towards a 0.83 and maintain that with the population growth, you will not have deputies stacking calls. And when I say stacking calls, you won't have deputies holding off on a domestic not in progress and parties are separated and going to the more volatile domestic, or maybe a traffic accident that's blocking the interstate, and then all of a sudden that call that they had to put to the side for the time being, now the suspect or victim now reunite, and now there's another escalation of the situation. which has happened in the past. We are slowly working our way there, especially with the 12-hour shifts. That has helped out a great deal by adding more manpower to the actual shift itself. But we really need to try to up that manpower a little bit to maintain that 0.83. And that's why we came up with that number. Because we understand the 1 per 1,000, it's just not practical. I'm not coming up here asking you for 20 brand new deputies. It's just not realistic.
We even at 0.83, you're talking about 104 deputies.
Yes, sir. Ultimately, that's, I think Tom and I said, well, by the end of our first term, our goal was 83, you know? So, yeah, we either get there, we don't get there, but constantly moving in that direction is positive regardless.
When you have training, Sheriff, national attention on police brutality and all these situations, all across the country, and how do y'all handle that in-house and on? I guess you discuss it often. And is there training, special training now regarding that?
We learn from it, and we take these national instances, and that's another important topic that we broach during our annual in-service training, in-house training that we have. Prosecuting attorney will get up and talk about case studies. I'll get up in front of the staff and talk about these issues. We even watch body cam footage if released by these other agencies, and they'll say, what did they do right? What did they do wrong? We're constantly learning from those things. And I'll just put it out right now. We're actually moving into what we call hood drills internally. These hood drills, imagine, if you will, me standing in a training, a sanitized training area with inert munitions and equipment, and a hood goes over my head. And we have approximately 7 scenarios that we'll put the deputy through, that we're getting ready to put deputies through, where they have to make split-second decisions and either de-escalate or use the appropriate amount of force necessary to de-escalate that situation. And I want to expose our deputies to those situations where they're required to make the right decision, or as right of a decision as they possibly can in split seconds in a stress-induced environment, because that's the way it happens out there. And if we're not doing that, then at the end of the day, when a situation similar happens to us, the finger's going to get pointed at me, it's going to get pointed at the department, and the very first question is going to be asked, how'd you train? What did you train? So when we start going into mental health awareness training, which Marshall University has partnered with us to do the autism awareness training, and we've worked with the Raymer Center for Mental Health First Aid training. Those kind of courses put us on the right path and lessen our liability. So not to mention our internal training that we're doing with these hood drills and putting these deputies in stress-induced situations. Oh, and we did establish a use of force instructor for the first time this year. That would be Sergeant Boothby. He's actually looking and doing a deep dive on situations, just as Councilman Catlett mentioned, in terms of what is being called nationally state-sponsored escalated aggression. And all that is me showing up on scene to a self-harm situation where someone has threatened self-harm, and just my mere presence, courts are holding departments liable for just being there in a uniform with a gun. And so we're establishing crisis intervention teams, working with East Ridge, WU Medicine, and EMS. We've had multiple discussions. Sergeant Boothby is heading that, but also Sergeant Boothby is the one that brought it front stage. There's court cases that have been won because officers showed up on scene with a gun, and either someone was scared, autistic, or in some manner mentally impaired, not by any substance abuse or anything, but they were just scared, and officers are trying to extract them from a vehicle, and other issues are happening across the nation, and the officer just simply doesn't understand. The individual just doesn't, that they're scared, and they don't understand what the officer's requesting of them. And so we're providing that training, and we've got, again, Sergeant Boothby that's going to deep dive further on those things, and we're moving in the right direction.
And for, I'm sure Councilman McGuinn and myself, and since we're new, could explain the ACE team, ACE squad to us, what it's all about, and how many, and just, what's their focus?
We're currently recruiting for another ACE team member. ACE team stands for Accelerated Criminal Enforcement. The spirit behind that team, the creation of the team, was to address the outcry of our local community citizens. Not to cross state lines like a task force. I wasn't recreating the wheel in terms of a task force, but the ACE team, when a member of the community, a citizen calls up and says, my neighbor, I believe my neighbor's selling drugs or doing some other type of criminal activity, the ACE team has unique ways of establishing, well, substantiating that information. And once they substantiate that information, an investigation ensues, and we subsequently, within a 2-week period, either resolve the situation or move to the next one without forgetting the
And
first.
all the members are within the sheriff's department? not-
Yes, sir. Yeah, they're not a multi-jurisdictional force. They are at times undercover, at times uniformed. They are used, for example, we had a stabbing not too long ago, I believe, last week. And, they'll help with violent crimes, and they'll help CID out, and they go on calls. I refer to them as a hybrid officer, right? They're on the road, so the two I have on the interstate is Deputy Walker, he's a canine handler, and Deputy Jenkins. And hands down, these two gentlemen have revealed a huge problem in human smuggling. And so much so that cartels are involved, and we've proved as much. And they have literally spearheaded a bill currently in legislation that has passed judiciary and is in front of the Senate as we speak. Senator Barrett and Senator Rucker helped us spearhead the verbiage in that bill because currently there is no state code that covers smuggling, only human trafficking. And you have to prove crime was committed in Berkeley County for us to enforce it. So we were basically noticing these victims and had to let them go. And there's some other nuances with human smuggling, but we couldn't do anything. So just that effort in and by itself identified a problem, and we're addressing the issue as we speak. But the ACE team has been created and has been doing a good job to answer the local problems of Berkeley County.
How many members are in it?
5.
5. Thank you.
Sheriff, I think that you will agree, I hope that you would agree and your members would agree that this council has absolutely supported the efforts, and it's really and truly comes down to your all's leadership. There's no doubt about that. You've made changes, you made positive changes within your organization. I think that you are highly regarded in the community. And as we try to fill the needs that you all present to us, truthfully, one of the big elements in the room is your overtime. So I see where you've requested $396 this year. Is the same thing that you requested last year, and I question whether that is enough because currently we're way out of whack on our overtime expenditure. So I'm just wondering if the 396 is a good number.
Sir, it's a what I would refer to as a safe number because I just simply do not know what the transportation division will be able to save us in terms of our expenditures and their capabilities and how much overtime, because that was really a lot of it. When you're talking about a 10-hour, 12-hour round trip or sending a captain to Alabama for a juvenile, it adds up. So it's a safe number, sir. I know that I think the adjustment was a little over $400,000 to some degree. There's
Well, currently,
You're the numbers guy.
you were budgeted $224,861. The council adjusted that by an additional 15% to represent pay increases, plus you had some reimbursements totaling The total with what the council has provided and some of the reimbursements give you a revised budget of $257,954. As of tomorrow's payroll, you've spent $454,547.62, which leaves a deficit of $196,593.62. Your overtime average per pay for 15 pays is $30,303.17 per pay. And if you annualize that by 24 pays, your overtime this year could be as much as $727,276.08. I don't know where the money's gonna come to pay it. I mean, it's not-
But I was under the impression there was discussion to make that whole.
There was discussion about taking, like, starting at your requested number of 396 from last year, adding that 15% pay increase to that number. And we're still,
But if you did that, that's only $455,400. That's not gonna carry the year.
If I may, just in holiday pay for last year, just in holiday pay, we're $400,364.16, which we can't figure out why holiday and overtime are combined into one, because holiday is never accounted for. That holiday eats our overtime budget completely alive, based on if we got 396,000 as you requested, we use 400,000 just in holiday pay every year.
That's one of the reasons why I brought that up earlier with the old.
so the holiday pay and overtime are two different line items.
No.
No?
It's all together in one. Based on the way the current account. Because if an employee works the holiday, they're getting double time. They're getting their straight pay plus the holiday pay. So that is, for all intents and purposes, overtime. You can call it what you want.
Right.
It's overtime.
Right, but I mean, that's a expense there that there's no control over that. I mean, that's state statute requires they be paid, for their holidays.
And that's why I said it.
I mean, you can call it overtime, you can call it holiday pay, it's still overtime.
Sure, I get that. Yeah,
And that's why I said 396 was a safe number, because we do have transportation division, but that's not even sniffing the holiday pay at all. Like Councilman just said, we don't account for that. That's a given. Assumingly, we would think that that would be accounted for. But when I talk about 396, I'm just talking about overtime.
yeah, over and above their shift, over, court time,
Yes,
all
sir.
those different stuff.
I'm sorry, what was the number, 700 and some thousand?
If it continues the trend, the way it has the first 15 pays, it's gonna be $727,276. And this council has not taken any action to infuse any money into 700.
Right,
If
and
you take into account that number there, minus the 400,000 in holiday pay, we're still well under the 396 the sheriff asked for, 327. And true overtime, beyond holiday.
Well, you call it holiday pay, it's double time for someone working a holiday, so it's overtime.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, those hours, we know what they're going to be. I mean, within a very small margin, because you can do that calculation on the amount of holidays that we grant, and that double time pay for that, or time and a half. Is it time and a half or double time?
Well, it's straight time, and it's the same way for our 911 operators. If they're on console, they get straight time for the time that they work on a holiday, but then they get the holiday pay. So for all intent and purposes, it's double time.
So if we back that holiday figure out of the overtime figure, what's the balance left? Do we know what that is?
320 something.
327. 327, 276.
That's why I asked for 396, because I don't know what the transportation division is going to be able to save us. I just don't want to ask more for that.
One this here says average overtime usage per deputy is 116.18. Is that hours per year? Hours per? Is that hours? What is that?
That's,
That would be hours per year.
yeah.
Hours per year. So that technically they get a vacation week or anything? Or was this 50 based on 52 weeks?
This is based off actual time work.
Because I mean that's really only like 2.5 hours a week for deputy.
Well, there's a few nuances. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Davis, if someone takes a sick day or a day off during the week, during their pay period, then that becomes straight time on a holiday thing. And then you have K-9. Don't forget about K-9, that they average 3.5 hours of overtime off the bat per week simply for the care of the dog.
Right.
So that's 7 hours of overtime for our 4 K-9 handlers. Right off the bat that we just don't have control over because of the maintenance of the dog. Or 14? Yeah. Okay, 14.
Well, I had to broach that subject.
Sure.
Because we do need to figure out where we are with this.
I would love the 2 line items to be cleaner, to have holiday in one line item and have our overtime in another one, so it's not intermingled. I think that causes a lot of confusion.
Yeah, but I think state code mandates,
Does it mandate that it has to be?
Well, I mean,
I'm not familiar with it.
I'd have to look at it. I mean, we've always included it
Right.
under overtime, so, and munis would have to be reformatted, so, but we can look at that.
How many deputies work on a holiday? That's my question. Like, what's the average number of deputies that work each day?
I would say at least 6. Yeah, they do get time and a half if they're off that day, but generally about an average of 6 deputies are working any single day.
In a 24-hour period or on a shift?
Well, I meant on a 24-hour period.
So that's what I wanted to ask. I figure. So just control on the low end, all of CID for a daily basis. Can you give me a minute I have to throw that one together?
one of the things also, Sheriff, I was wondering as you did your presentation there, with the additional deputies that you're requesting, are they road deputies? Are they?
They will go strictly on the road.
So then will you take other senior deputies and place them in other programs? Because my desire a couple of years ago was to get you additional deputies on the road. So that's really, and I'm not the sheriff, you are, but I just really truly feel we needed more deputies on the road and not particularly in different programs.
And that's what's unique about our ACE team. Those 5 members, one in particular that sticks out in my mind, took 191 calls. And that's not even a full year. Just because I try to keep up on the fact that if there is a domestic, if there is something, they're not just on the ACE team, they are a member of our department. If they need to back up another officer, feel free to do so. They definitely are deterrents out there on the interstate and on the county roads. However, they're not negated from taking calls either. They do respond to the overdose calls or drug-related calls as well. So they're taking actual calls.
Speaking of, do you track those drug overdose calls?
We don't specifically. It's not too difficult to get the numbers from Gary's programs, and then of course we also have other entities that track the county. I get with him and Tim's and I also get with the Office of Drug Control Policy, Stephanie Stout. I can get those numbers.
I mean, I think EMS probably does.
Yeah, they.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you guys tracked them or not.
Just, go ahead.
roughly guesstimating, depending on the day of the week, usually Monday through Friday, you're looking at plus or minus 430 per day. Weekends, you're probably going to drop some because you don't have admin staff out. You don't have all of investigations out. Only select members of your ACE team are out. So on the weekends, the number drops, but 30 on an average. 30 plus or minus 4, I would say, depending on days off, sick, vacation, or otherwise.
When a deputy documents his overtime, does he specify whether it's been court time, scene time, just anything like that? Is it?
Yes, sir. There's a detailed section out to the right of their overtime.
I'd just be curious how much court time that the deputies have per year. That's, again, sort of mandated, but, take them off the street to.
We had tried several years ago to get on board with magistrate court specifically, because they just throw cases out and it's always on time off. It never seemed to happen on the day when you're actually working the road. Many other jurisdictions, I know a lot of Virginia jurisdictions do it, Maryland jurisdictions do it. They look and keep tabs on what units are working and schedule it accordingly to their work days. I know Loudoun County does a day or 2 or 3 per month in a deputy shift that is actually already pre-assigned, predetermined to be a court day. And that's when their hearings are all scheduled. So if they've got a whole line of hearings, it's not one Monday, one Wednesday, and it's, your day is February 14th, you're in court all day. That is what your assigned shift is for the day. And it just never seems to work out. The magistrates don't they just like doing what they like doing, and they don't really take into consideration what everybody else is doing. I think that would be a tremendous help on both ends. It would help monetarily, and I think it would help with the guys' well-being and sleeping a little better.
Municipalities do it. I know work for Morgantown PD, they did exactly that, and it worked out beautifully. So it's definitely
So
something.
who do we talk to about that, Shelley? Or is it the judges themselves?
She doesn't have anything to do with that. It would have to be the chief magistrate.
I don't have anything else.
Marcia said something, you said on a holiday they get time and a half anyway. You meant if they work?
They do not work.
If they do not work?
It's mandated by code, they're either paid or given additional time off.
West Virginia code states for deputies under civil service, if they work, they get double time. They get straight time plus holiday pay. If it's their scheduled day off, we're required to pay them time and a half.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Instead of straight time.
Even if they're all paid.
That's West Virginia code.
Thank you for what you do. You guys are, and your staff, you're up against the wall. I know on certain situations there are really split decisions that need to be made.
The extra deputies that you're asking for, that doesn't include outfitting, right?
Well, the total cost, we calculated that. The total cost to bring a deputy on board, and that includes the vehicle, outfitting the vehicle is about $165,000 the first year. So for 3 deputies, you're looking at $495,000. That's all inclusive. 495 is $165,000 per deputy, which includes a vehicle and the cost of outfitting that vehicle.
Does that, you said, but after the first year, 66, 68?
After that, it goes down considerably, but to bring a new deputy on board for purposes of this budget would be $165,000.
165 or 196?
Now it's 165 per deputy for a total of 3 deputies at 495,000. So if you added 3 more deputies next fiscal year, you'd have to allow $495,000. Part of that would go into 700, the rest of it would go into 717, which is, or 960 and 717, which is central garage and capital vehicles.
Okay.
You guys are expensive.
Yeah, I'll never never disagree with you there. Yeah. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
That's fine. But you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
See you.
Well, we don't have the assessor coming in, so let's take a break. We'll be on break temporarily. All righty, we're back in session and the hour is upon us and nothing else to report and no items from the public.
Mr. President, I'd like to recess.
We are in recess. Thank you.
So we can't